Hello everypony, and welcome to Mari and Recap Land, where you guess it, recap the latest story updates on JP, and also sometimes events. Chapter 2 of Book 8 just dropped, and we got a fairly big amount of lore and world building this update, which you guys know I was very happy about. It also wasn't too big of an update, so we got a lot in a pretty short time frame. I have some thoughts about it, but I'll wait until the end of the video to talk about that. Also, I only scripted this part and the rest will be reading from my notes and then talking off the cuff to try and cut down on production time. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's all I have to say. So, let's recap what happened in Book 8, chapters 26 to 40. We start off at Ramshackle. Ordo, Lilia, and Malleus are joining everyone for the shift rotation in the whole Mickey investigation. It's the freshman squad, and you and Grimm have all been hanging out, and then the others come and join in. The freshmen are really exhausted from the special lessons they're having to do. They're all complaining, and Sebek basically kind of starts a fight, and he's like, you guys shouldn't be complaining when Malleus, Lilia, and Silver are here, and they're actually going to be doing the competition, so like, suck it up. Everyone's tired. Everyone is sleepy beepies. Everyone's ready to go to bed. You is like, well, maybe we should wait to start the investigation, and Malleus points out that they can't really do that because they don't have the time. They have the inter-school competition thing, like, starting the next day, and then right after that are finals, and then after that there's the internship starting, so they don't really have any time to waste. They start trying to figure out what questions they can ask Mickey, trying to figure out, like, where he is and everything, and they also talk about Yu's world and try to compare and contrast. When asked, you can say that it's a world without magic, or it's a world similar to Twisted Wonderland. I chose the it's a world without magic option, so that's what I'm gonna talk about. So they talk about magic, and apparently magic has been around since ancient times, and science has developed to get closer to it. Sebi does a couple of examples, like lighters were created to imitate fire magic, and airplanes were kind of, flight magic, that sort of thing. Lilia chimes in and says some inventions are better, like airplanes are capable of transporting, like, more people than magic is capable of. Malleus also points out there's a difference in a world with no magic and a world where you can't use magic, and they need to determine what Mickey's world is like and which one it is. Ordo's also like, well, you knows phones and alarm clocks though, so maybe they and Mickey are from the same world. Sebek also points out they need to figure out how Mickey gets into the dream world. They're taking notes and everything and writing things down. Sebek talks about making a report template for record keeping, and then everyone's pretty much ready for bed, because it's like midnight-ish? It's late o'clock. They best be sleeping. If you awake, you a fake. It's bedtime, bitch. Foundational tweets. Anyway, they're tired and they go to bed. Mickey shows up that night, and so he and you chat, and he's talking about how he was worried about them, and, is glad that they're okay. Grimm wakes up, and, he's like, okay, holy shit. And so he goes and wakes everyone up, and he's like, you guys need to come right now, like, Mickey's there. And everyone is, very eepy and like, what? And then they're like, oh shit, we do have to go. So they run in. Everyone is like shocked to see Mickey there, and they do their little introductions. Mickey's glad that the fog has cleared so he can see everyone in the mirror. Silent Hill confirmed. Hopefully it's Ebisugalka and not. That sounds like I hate the town. I don't hate the town of Silent Hill. I love Silent Hill Forte, man. I don't know what to tell you. I love that game so much. Anyways. So Mickey's glad that he can see everyone, because beforehand there was kind of like a fog and he couldn't really see like Grimm or anyone else but you. So now he can see everyone. So while they're doing introductions and just kind of chatting, Ace and Deuce start panicking about questions because they left their notes in their room. Love that for them. Ordo takes over, and because like obviously he's gonna remember. And he's like, hey, Mickey, we have some questions, like, to try and help you get back to the world. Could you chat with us? And of course Mickey says yes, and he wants to help. Like, of course he does. So they ask about where he lives and whether or not there's magic, and he says there is. But then he's like, oh, it's the magic of finding something you lost, or a friend coming over when you're sad. So basically, no. Basically, there is no magic. And the others are like, noted, and basically had the same reaction I did. Malleus asks if there's anything special Mickey's doing to project into the dream world, and he can't think of anything. Silver says it's the same for him, and it just kind of happens. And then Mickey's like, oh yeah, like we met before, didn't we? I remember that sweater. So they're chatting, and then Lilia is like, are there any, like, ghost spots near you or anything? And Mickey is like, I mean, there's rumors about one, but yeah, apparently there's a mansion on the outskirts of town that's rumored to be haunted. Which, of course, my first thought was like, oh, like that one short that Ramshackle's kind of based off of? So not gonna lie, my theorist brain is going a little bit burr on that. But anyways, they're chatting, and then Mickey's alarm clock goes off. He ends up waking up, and the thing cuts short. But you was like, oh my god, like that's the longest I've ever talked to him. We got so much information. Everyone is super pumped about the investigation, but they have no idea what they're gonna write down in their report. They go to the lounge, and they try and, like, recap what just happened. Mickey does mention he has a car, and Deuce is just kind of stuck on that, and I love that for him, because they're like, what are we gonna write in our report? And Deuce is like, the car? Never change, King. Never change. But anyway, so they talk, and they're like, yeah, Mickey's world doesn't seem too different. It doesn't have systemized magic, though. Malleus then asks Silver and Grimm if they could use magic in that dream world, which they confirm. They realize the dream world falls into the range where Twisted Wonderland's magic laws apply. So, like, they're able to use magic the same and don't have to kind of adapt to the room. Like, they can just do what they've always done. Malleus says it's probably that the room was created within Twisted Wonderland and it's not actually in Mickey's world. Lilia brings up that usually people only vaguely remember dream details. If Mickey can remember Silver's sweater and having, like, really solid details of that meeting, it's very likely the dream world was created using some kind of magic like Malleus's unique maho. He also says the reason he asked about magic was because if there's ghosts somewhere, it's probably a place with, like, a whole bunch of magic. So, trying to figure out if that's really a thing. They end up speculating that the dream world is probably, like, a third place. It might not actually be in Twisted Wonderland, and not in Mickey's world, but maybe created through Twisted Wonderland, but it's, like, a third place. I don't know how to describe that well. It's basically, like, a third place. They also wonder if there's, like, a world beyond the door in that room. Deuce suggests if they use Malleus's unique maho, they might be able to get to that dream world and explore. Lilia and Ordo are like, absolutely the fuck not. 1, Militia would be pissed, and 2, Styx wouldn't allow Malleus to use his unique maho, and also 3, Malleus can't really easily use magic like that anymore because of his horn being broken. And also, side note, I'm really glad that they did show him with his broken horn more in this chapter. I was like, oh, I like that detail, like he's being more vulnerable around the people he loves. I love it so much. Anyways, the others are a little bummed that they can't just use Malleus's magic to get in there, but it is what it is. Ordo's about to start a report and, like, start actually writing things down, and Malleus is like, no, we gotta go back to bed. The head mage told us to shut shit down by 1, and it's 1. And Lilia also points out that tomorrow is the start of the inter-school competition, so they need a good night's rest. Grimm is still complaining about things, and Malleus is like, shall I put you to sleep then? And Grimm's like, no. I know it's just kind of like a silly Billy sort of thing, but low-key I'm like, oh, you're gonna tuck your son into bed. Love that. Anyways, they all go back to bed. Ebel comes in the next morning and wakes Grimm and Yu up. We learn that Grimm and Yu were way too excited to sleep, which honestly, big fair. Like extremely big fair. But, you know, they get ready, everything's fine, they go meet up with Adus and Jack. Jack comments he saw a load of RSA peeps during his morning run. Sebek gets on Yu's case about their hair being unkempt. Sebek is like, how could you have unkempt hair in front of Malleus? And part of me is like, Malleus thoughts are happening right now. Malleus thoughts are happening right now. And I'm not gonna elaborate because I gotta keep it at least somewhat PG-13 on this channel. Anyways, so the gang is running a little bit behind though for opening ceremonies, but they do make it to the sports field. Grimm is having trouble seeing, so he gets on Jack's shoulders, and Jack is not having it, which kinda fair, but also like, Grimm is like, what, 4 pounds? You can handle it, it's fine. There's a whole bunch of people at this event, so they can't really, that's part of the reason they can't see anything. There's just like a massive crowd of people. There's an estimated 30,000 people this year, and the reason it's like such a large crowd this specific year is because it's the 100th year, and you know, that's a milestone. That's a big boy. They run into Divas, who's like, what are you guys doing here? Like, Class A is on the other side of the field. Like, that's where we're meeting. But then he's like, like, I don't give a shit, man. If you want to stay here and cheer with your friends, I think that you should. There's nothing worse than a quiet crowd, so if you want to cheer with your friends and have fun, go ahead and stay here, I don't care. He then does say, though, like, don't let Trein find out that I'm letting you guys stay together and not be with your class. So I guess they do have to technically be with their class, but he's like, yeah, I don't fucking care. Which, honestly, based. So the freshman squad is all together, the announcer is like, let's fucking go! And then the stadium just kind of comes up from the ground, Like, the ground all shakes and everyone's like, what the goddamn? And then the stadium is there. Yeah, it was getting late and I was like, my reading comprehension is going down. So first up, before NRC gets introduced and everything, we have RSA coming onto the field. You wonders what kind of school it is, and we learned Grimm didn't know about it until, like, later. Because I don't remember if it's Ace or Deuce, I didn't make the note. But one of them basically asked Grimm, like, oh, did you try going to RSA? And Grimm is like, I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I only knew NRC. I didn't learn about RSA until way later. So he doesn't know anything. We don't know anything. So now we have to have people explain everything. I'm gonna do a bigger video on RSA, so I'm not gonna go over every minute detail. But basically, RSA also has 7 dorms. They have house wardens, everything. Instead of revering the Great Seven, they have the Radiant Seven, who, according to Sebek, they're basically, like, historical figures on par with the Great Seven. And then they talk about all the dorms. Quick disclaimer before I talk about the dorms. We only have the romanization for 2 of them. The rest are just in katakana, so I know how to pronounce them in Japanese. I don't know how to pronounce them in English. So I'm gonna be using the katakana pronunciation for these because I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea what these are supposed to be in English. I'm just gonna straight up admit, I have no idea. You guys will hear why, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's why. I'm gonna try and guess some of the names, but like, I'm gonna be defaulting to the katakana pronunciation because, girl, I don't know. So, the first dorm is the Snow White dorm. I mean, they don't use Snow White's name, obviously, but, anyway. So, that's Shaburanche, so I'm guessing Shalblanche, which, I was fucking losing it when I read Shalblanche, and I was like, okay. So, that's the Snow White dorm. There's oorariimu, which, oorariimu? That's the Alice dorm, their color is light blue. We have a pink dorm, which is the Sleeping Beauty dorm. They're rosaauroria, which... rosaauroria? It was meant to be for me. It was meant to be for me. Anyways, we have marinafiine, which is the Ariel dorm. Dyunamiina, the Jasmine dorm. puribaroo, which is... puribaroo? I don't know. I think it's probably like roar at the end of it. But like, I don't know. Guys, I don't fucking know. I don't know. Anyways, it's the Savannah Claw adjacent dorm. It's the Nala dorm. I don't know. It's 4:30 in the morning. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Anyway, that's that dorm. Their color's light yellow. Purple is pushukerosu, which is Meg's dorm. I don't know how anything is said in this, honestly. Guys, I don't fucking know. I don't have a good track record with trying to figure stuff out, so like, Anyways, we get the lore dump on those dorms. I'll go more into depth on it in a later video. I kind of want to wait to figure out what the actual, like, romanization of the names are, because the katakana is giving me a lot of problems, because you guys know that I'm not good with katakana. But yeah, so we get all the RSA dorms and everything, and, you know, like, the freshmen are like, we hate those guys, and then the VDC team are, you know, like, Ace, Deuce, and Apple are like, we want to get revenge for losing, which honestly, like, big fair. Next up, we have NRC's team coming onto the field. They do that, everyone's like, yeah, NRC, yay! RSA, like, briefly returns the championship cup since, you know, they haven't won it again yet. I'm sorry, that turned out really shady. They return it, so that way it can be given to whoever wins. The director of the education department at the ministry, I'm assuming it's Goldrina Meza, or Mether? I don't know. Again, I don't know, you guys know I'm not gonna katakana. Oh my god. Anyway, she does a little speech. She's basically just like, oh, this is historic, yeah, like... She also announces what the events for the competition are gonna be. We have Relic Labyrinth, Magift, obviously, Mystic Mortar, and Seeker's Gathering. So I guess for this competition, it's tradition that the house wardens of the 2 oldest dorms, which would be Shaburanche and Pumfiore, they basically go on stage and they're like, yeah, we promise that we're gonna fight fair and everything's gonna be good and yay, sportsmanship. So Nej, who is the house warden, which I think a lot of people were, you know, speculating, so that is confirmed. And Vil go up there and they're like, yeah, we promise. Sebek is mad that Malleus wasn't called to do this, and Jack is like, it's the oldest dorms, do it first. Like, didn't you watch the broadcast last year? And then Ordo just goes straight for the jugular, and he's like, of course Sebek didn't watch it. Malleus wasn't there. Isn't that right? Love him. I love Ordo so much. He's such a fucking dick sometimes. I love him. So after Vil and Nej do the whole, promise and everything, the headmate just show up, and they're like, it's a historic 100th event. And Crowley starts to say that, like, oh, a new story's gonna begin because we're gonna win this year. And Ambrose is like, no, we're gonna win, and that's the new story of, like, our new era. And the girls are fighting. Like, the girls are fighting. They do get it together, though, but yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the players get transported to, like, the area for the first event. Ambrose tries to announce the event and everything, and, being like, oh, it's this and that sort of thing. But Crowley takes over, because apparently, like, they decided beforehand Crowley would announce the first event, and then Ambrose just decided to be a dick. I mean, are we surprised? And I feel like I'm being so shady with this. Anyways, Crowley announces the NRC players, which are Azul, Jamil, Lilia, Ruggie, and then three other people. Like, I don't know. They're just NPCs. The freshmen are surprised that Ruggie is not in the spell drive thing, and they're low-key disappointed, and frankly, me too. As soon as Crowley is like, oh, that's the 7th team, Ambrose immediately cuts in, and he's like, oh, well, here's our players. And it's like, oh my god, shut the fuck up. I hate this man. Anyways, so then Ambrose announces the players. There are 5 NPC players, and then we have Riel and Minajil. So, confirmed Riel, rejoice. I know people wanted that, so rejoice. Ace and Deuce are like, wait, don't we know that name? Like, don't we know Riel? And then they remember book 3. We also get a little bit of info on Minajil, and I guess apparently he's like a Magif player who was in the Spell Drive tournament last year, so also kind of weird that he's doing Relic Labyrinth, but okay. We cut to the Ancient Ruins where the whole like event is taking, well, not the whole event, but like the Relic Labyrinth is taking place. Ruggie's pissed he's not in the Magif team, and honestly, me too. Like, I'm still irritated about that. Lilia tries cheering him up, and he's like, oh, well, companies will see your strong will this way. But Ruggie points out he was working really, really hard on doing new techniques and, like, flashy stuff for Spell Drive so he would get scouted. So, yeah, I mean, I guess Lilia isn't technically, like, kind of wrong. But I'm with Ruggie on this one. He should have been at Spell Drive. I'm gonna say that. Oh, Ruggie was robbed. He was robbed. Riel is, like, bouncing off the walls. He's really excited to start exploring, and he notices Azul, and he recognizes him. So he goes to say hi, and he's like, haven't we met before? And Azul is like, oh yeah, we went to elementary and middle school together. And then Riel is like, oh wait, you're Azul, I remember you. And he's like genuinely excited to see him and is like, oh my gosh, I almost didn't recognize you. And so he talks and he's like, land is so great, I love it here, but like I wish you'd contact me to let you know you were coming on the land too. And Azul is just kind of like humoring him and he's like, oh, like I would have, but I didn't have your contact info. And Riel is like, just like, oh, I wish you had told me, and, like, is super excited for the match and everything. We learned that, like, as soon as Riel got accepted in RSA, he kind of, like, ran off and made everyone in the palace kind of freak out because he just kind of ran off. He was, like, so excited. I personally don't believe in child leashes. However, I think Riel might be one of the few instances where maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay to have a child leash. Riel is super excited for the match. He wishes Azul well and then runs off, and Azul is just kind of like monologuing like he's a prince and just kind of recapping what we just learned. Minajil is like, ugh, of course Riel is overreactive and like literally just bouncing off the walls, everything. Jamil approaches him and we learn that Minajil is also a prince like Riel is. Jamil is being super overly polite and Minajil is like, Diva, knock it off! Stop being like that, and also don't call me a prince. Minajil asks how Kaleem and his grandma are doing, and Jamil says they're doing fine. We learn that Kaleem's grandma was a princess, and she married into the Azim family, and apparently it caused like a massive stir at the time, because, royalty marrying into a merchant family. Minajil's grandfather and then Kaleem's grandma are siblings, so that's how they're related, they're cousins. Minajil complains about all the rules back home, and then, he ends up leaving to get ready for the match, and Jamila's like, oh, you think you have it rough with the rules? And points out that, like, Minajil's kind of a spoiled prince, and, But he's like really, really smart, and he often runs away from home. Well, not like runs away from home, but like he sneaks out and it causes a lot of problems. And like he's a media favorite for gossip, you know, that sort of thing. We then see Minanjil and Riel. They're just kind of chatting, and it's like, let's go. Yeah, that's just kind of how it ends. That's just kind of how the update ends. So, my thoughts on this update. I really liked it. I like that we got a lot of lore, we got a lot of world building. I feel like that's really my biggest complaint when it comes to Twist, is that I feel like we need more world building and stuff, and we definitely got that this chapter, so yippee. I also really like that we got to meet some of the RSA characters. I will admit, I really kind of hoped that Riel wasn't Riel just because I wanted to watch the world burn. No, I just thought it would be really funny before it was confirmed it was Riel. I thought it'd be very funny if it ended up not being him. So I was a little bummed that it was him, but mostly just because I wanted to see people be like, what the goddamn? Because I thought that would have been funny, because I am a bitch. But anyways, but I like their design so far. There's something about Riel that just looks a little off to me, but like in a fun way. And also I really love seeing the freshman squad and, you know, Lilia and all of them just being like a little friend group and everything. I just thought it was really cute, and I love seeing them all together. It makes me really happy. That being said, I do have a couple of complaints. So, some of my criticisms. Listen. I know that I just said I was really happy we got lore and world building, and to be fair, I do think most of the time it makes sense when things were introduced. That being said, I feel like towards the end of the chapter, they were just kind of like dumping stuff when maybe it could have been handled a little differently or introduced a little better. Like, towards the end, when you have Azul and Jamil, who are both doing their monologuing after talking to the RSA students, I do, especially with Jamil, I feel like maybe we could have done things a little differently. I don't know, Jamil's whole, like, monologue about it, I was like, surely there had to be a better way for us to learn some of this information. I think it is kind of weird just that he's, like, monologuing about it, and I think maybe we could have done something a little differently there. I think Azul's and Riel's conversation and, like, the lore dumps for that were handled a lot better. But, there was still a little bit where it was just like, I think that maybe we could have done this just a tad differently. So that's one of my big complaints about this chapter. I feel like the dorm info dumps were, like, fine. My second biggest complaint with this update is the pacing. And on one hand, I'm very glad that they're going faster, but I'm also kind of worried about it. I would hope that they're going faster because they saw the criticisms of Book 7 and were like, okay, we can't drag it out like that anymore. We have to pick up the pace. I would hope that's why this is all faster. That being said, though, I'm worried that the actual reason they're going fast is because Book 8 has so much planned that they have to go this fast. You know what I mean? Like, they have so much that they want to do in this book that they're like, okay, we absolutely cannot waste any time. We have to go this fast to get everything into Book 8. And that's what concerns me. But we're also not going to know if that's a valid concern until the future. So now I'm just kind of in this space of like, I really hope it's just responding to the criticisms of Book 7. But like I said, we're not going to know. So I don't know. I'm a little bit worried, but I'm also very glad that it is going fast. But you guys know what I mean, right? Those are my thoughts on this update. I hope you guys like this video. I'm going to be doing a separate video on RSA information. I don't know when that's going to come out. I'm going to be fully honest. I don't know when that's going to come out, but hopefully soon-ish. And yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me and listening to me rant about everything. And oh god, I hope this turned out. I'm recording the ending and beginning segments before I'm doing the actual meat of the video, so I don't know how things turned out. But anyways, thank you guys, and before we go, I'd like to thank my lady fingers in waiting who support me and allow me to continue to do this. A massive thank you and telepathic snacky treat to Michgal2189, Omimi, Orion, Dorcas, Visa, Lady Lunarine, Crabjail, Richter32, Yungumo, Ukaku, Farafo, and Yosuke Kiseki. Thank you guys, I'm Kiryu, and I'm telepathically sending you little snacky treats and coffee drinky drinks so we can all be, you know, having massive amounts of caffeine at 4 in the morning. And if you've made it this far, thank you too. But yeah, have a good rest of your day, night, or whatever you're having. I hope to see you guys in the future, and yeah, night-night! Or good morning. Oh my god, my sleep schedule is gonna be so fucked.